Alright, hey guys, what's up? It's the Cultural Detective here, investigating your favorite movies. And today is an incredibly special day because I'm going to go to UCLA all by myself to watch a specific movie that I can't mention right now, but it is really special. And before that happens, I would actually like to do a very special video. A video that I don't think I've ever done before, and that is top 100 favorite movies of all times. Now, I want to make this video not because I think my list is great, but because I want to put a cap. Because there are still tons of amazing movies that I haven't watched, but before that, I would like to just tell you what are my top 100 so far. Emphasis on so far, meaning that this is going to change. My opinions change from time to time, so this ranking is not absolute. And B, there are still tons of great movies, so this list will drastically change like a couple months later, anyways. And also, I would like to say that I've only watched about like 550 movies in my life, I think. So this list is basically a 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 5.5, which is not really all that great. But you have to realize that I do watch a lot of great movies. So without further ado, let's get into the honorable mentions first. 第一期 or Limbo by Soy Cheng. I watched this movie all by myself for the first time in Hong Kong, which is great. Inside Llewyn Davis by the Coen Brothers. Manchester by the Sea. Arrival. Yojimbo by Kurosawa. Hereditary by Ari Aster. The Father by Florian Zeller. Her by Spike Jonze. Dunkirk by Christopher Nolan. Living in Oblivion. Marriage Story. Blade Runner. The Shawshank Redemption. Forrest Gump. Yingxiong or Hero by Zhang Yimou, Trainspotting by Danny Boyle, and Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol by Brad Bird, which is, in my opinion, still one of the most fun and creative action films of all times. But here is my top 100 favorite films of all times so far. At number 100, I'm giving it to Raise the Red Lantern, or 大红灯笼高高挂 by Zhang Yimou, which is a very sad, depressing, slow Chinese period film, which is something I love, of course. At 99, it is Pan's Labyrinth by Guillermo del Toro. At 98, it is Trok, or Another Round by Thomas Vinterberg. At 97, it is The Matrix by the Wachowskis. And then at 96, super underrated, little hidden gem that won Best Picture, apparently, Midnight Cowboy by John Schlesinger. At 95, it is Blue Velvet by David Lynch. At 94, it is one of the best comedies of all times, Shaun of the Dead by Edgar Wright. At 93 is Léon le Professionnel by Luc Besson. And then at 92, it is one of the best concert films ever, if not the best ever, Stop Making Sense, directed by Jonathan Demme, and of course it is a live show of Talking Heads. Burning down the house! Anyways, at 91, call me a pleb, but it's Gravity by Alfonso Cuarón. I watched this when I was really young in a cinema, and it had shook me to the core, and it still does shake me to the core. But yeah, impressive CGI, impressive camera work. I'm afraid of space. Holy shit. At number 90, it is the Chinatown, unfortunately directed by Roman Polanski. At number 89, it is First Reformed by Paul Schrader. At 88, the one and only Drive My Car by Hamaguchi Ryusuke. At 97, it is Climax by Gaspar Noé. If you want to throw up and have anxiety, look no further. At 86, it is one of my favorite films of the decade so far, Judas and the Black Messiah. And at 85, it is The Revenant by AGI, Alejandro González Iñárritu. At 84, it is one of the best mockumentaries, one of the funniest and most creative, Borat, starring Sacha Baron Cohen. At 83, it is a genre-bending X-Men film, Logan, by James Mangold. At 82, it is one of my favorite Hong Kong films of all times, also one of my favorite martial arts films of all times, The 36th Chamber of Shaolin, Sirulam Samzabokfong, which is just a very tight-paced, incredibly entertaining, really awesome production design, kind of funny as well. Awesome movie from the Shaw Brothers. And at 81, also extremely entertaining. I was just compelled from front to back. Very weird story, perfect for me. The Lobster by Yorgos Lanthimos. At number 80, we have a film that is a love letter to filmmaking. That is One Cut of the Dead, or Kamera wo Tomeru na, directed by Ueda Shinichiro. One Cut of the Dead. Yes. And at 79, we have Black Swan by Darren Aronofsky. And at 78, one of the most underrated anime trilogy films of all times, Kizumonogatari trilogy. It's just stunning. It is stunning. The editing, the cinematography, the voice acting, the story, the characters. Just how? At number 77, it is one of the most realistic portrayals of mental illness in cinema, in my opinion. Mommy by Xavier Dolan. And at 76, we have a very depressing and heart-crushing case studies of mass hysteria and false accusations with Jakten, or The Hunt, by Thomas Vinterberg, starring Mads Mikkelsen. At 75, this is the first James Bond movie I've watched in the cinema, and it's the one that really hit me, and that is Skyfall by Sam Mendes. And this might be my favorite James Bond movie still. I think it's so ambitious, it's so unapologetic, the ending. Oh my god, The Villain by Javier Bardem, just, oh my god. 74, it is a film noir, a neo-noir, Prisoners by Denis Villeneuve. And at 73, it is a very well-edited movie that is Cidade de Deus by Fernando Meirelles. Yes, Cidade de Deus, City of God. At 72, one of the most underrated and one of my favorite political thrillers of all times, The Ghost Writer. I did not expect myself to like this one this much, but it's just so freaking entertaining. It's just, chef's kiss. At 71, one of the most creative of all times, 127 Hours by Danny Boyle. At 70, it is Kill Bill Volume 1 by Tarantino. At 69, it is the gorgeous poetic Moonlight by Barry Jenkins. At 68, it is the cutesy, funny, fantastic Mr. Fox by Wes Anderson. At 87, it is David Fincher's Fight Club. And at 66, it is Pulp Fiction by Tarantino. At 65, it is Touch of Evil by Orson Welles. And at 64, it is Funny Games by Michael Haneke, if you're into some cynicism. At 63, we have Incendie by Denis Villeneuve. And at 62, we have a classic police and gangster film from Hong Kong, Infernal Affairs, Mo Gando. Amazing performances, just front to back entertaining and compelling. And at 61, a meditation on aging, grief, and loss, we have Wild Strawberries by Ingmar Bergman. And at number 60, we have the very quirky and weird and eccentric combination of period film and comedy with The Favorite by Yorgos Lanthimos, which is, in my opinion, my favorite Yorgos Lanthimos film so far. Just a close tie with The Lobster, actually. And at 59, it is Yin Zi Kao, or Rouge, which has the legendary cast of Anita Mui and Leslie Cheung, directed by Stanley Guan Gampang. And it is a depressing love story that just has a unbelievably shocking third act. At 58, another classic film from Hong Kong, super underrated, not talked about enough. Boat People, Tao Ban No Hoi, directed by Hu Nguyen and Hu. And this is one of the most gut-wrenching political thrillers coming out of East Asia I've ever seen. And at 57, speaking of gut-wrenching, we have Requiem for a Dream by Darren Aronofsky. At 58, it is the one and only Citizen Kane by Orson Welles. I mean, come on. I mean, it's not that great, but yes, it is that great. At 55, we have Perfect Blue by Kon Satoshi, which predates Black Swan as a film about a woman who's losing his mind due to stress and pressure. And a little bit later in this list, we're going to talk about another film which predates Perfect Blue. At 54, we have Being John Malkovich, directed by Spike Jonze, written by the one and only Charlie Kaufman. Only a mastermind like Charlie Kaufman could think of such a wacky ass story and actually pull it off on being John Malkovich. And at 53, one of the most exhilarating and intense action films I've ever seen, Mad Max Fury Road by George Miller. At 52, we have The Grand Budapest Hotel by Wes Anderson, which is just so full of style. It's amazing. At 51, it is Three Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri by Martin McDonagh. Yes, I remember. At number 50, it is Goodfellas by Martin Scorsese. What can I say? At 49, it is Seven by David Fincher. At 48, it is a movie that goes more and more insane as the audience themselves go more and more insane. Possession by Andrzej Żuławski. Speaking of psychological, at 47, we have one of my favorite psychological horrors of all times, Rosemary's Baby. You know who directed it. At 46, it is Chungking Express, Chongqing Samlam by Kar-Wai, Wong Kar-Wai. California Dreamin'. What can I say? California Dreamin'. Do you like pineapples? At 45, Call Me a Weeb, Call Me a Tweeb. But I love this film. I cried 3 times. Your Name, or Kimi no Nawa by Makoto Shinkai. Shinkai Makoto? Shinkai Makoto. Kimi no Nawa. This is one of the most beautiful and just humane and emotional love films, romance films I've ever seen. And I'm not even huge on romance, but this film hit me. It hit me. It stripped love down to its bare bones core, and it's just gorgeous. At 44, one of the most underrated Nolan films, The Prestige. At 43, super underrated, Made in Hong Kong, or 香港製造 by Fu Chan, 陳果, which is a sad and depressing view on the socio-political climate of Hong Kong in the year 1997. Ouch. At 42, I loved it when I was a kid, and I still love it a lot now. Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban by Alfonso Cuarón. This is definitely one of the most well-directed and artistic franchise films of all times. At 41, speaking of well-directed, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World by Edgar Wright. This is one of the most colorful and fun comedy action films ever. At number 40, super artsy, poetic, and gorgeous, shimmering, The Master by Paul Thomas Anderson. And at 39, it is A Clockwork Orange by Stanley Kubrick. It reads like a book. It feels like a fever dream. At 38, we have the very entertaining The Truman Show by Peter Weir. Wow, my memory just... At 37 and 36, it is respectively The Godfather Parts 1 and 2. Yeah, they're great. Moving on, we have 35, and that is, oh my god, I was so blown away by this film. This is just, ooh, The Bad Sleep Well by Kurosawa Akira. This is a very creative spin on Hamlet, Shakespeare's Hamlet, but Kurosawa basically expands that into a 2.5-hour long political thriller film noir. That's just so full of intricacies and suspense. At 34, just a shocking, pure American thriller, No Country for Old Men by the Coen brothers. At number 33, we have a very awesome artsy J-horror that is Audition by Miike Takashi, or Takashi Miike. And it's a slow burn, but it doesn't feel boring at all. Every single scene just builds up towards the incredibly disturbing climax. And at 32, Sheesh, this movie blew me away, Strangers on a Train by Alfred Hitchcock. This is so entertaining. Like if you want to get into black and white films, this is the one to go. This is so freaking entertaining, you have no idea. At 31, we have Boogie Nights by PTA. I watched it when I was really young. Maybe I shouldn't have done that, but I've never seen a long movie that is simultaneously this fun and this self-aware and this creative, this well-directed, and has so many great characters and dialogue. At number 30, we have a movie that I recently watched, one of my favorite J-horror movies of all times, if not my favorite, Cure by Kurosawa Kiyoshi, which is deeply disturbing and disorienting, and dizzying, and dissonant, and ominous, and dark, very dark. At 29, we have Sento Chihiro no Kamikakushi, or Spirited Away, by the one and only Miyazaki Hayao, which is a film from my childhood, but after watching it again not too long ago, I still love it from front to back. Like, this is just the childhood imagination, the creativity just bursting with colors on every corner of the frame. The music, the animation, just the emotional story, the need for home is just so inspiring. Just, oh my god. At number 28, we have a very smart, funny, slick commentary on racism with Do the Right Thing by Spike Lee. And it takes on a more unconventional approach to storytelling, which is also one of the reasons why it stands out even more than other movies about racism. At number 27, we have The Seventh Seal, Det Sjunde Inseglet, by Ingmar Bergman, which is surprisingly entertaining. It's funny, it's sad, it's dark, it's the Seventh Seal. It is what it is. At number 26, we have Birdman by AGI, Alejandro González Iñárritu, where we have the long take movie, which is awesome, but also just a very great insight in the film industry, trying to stay popular, and it is simultaneously a character study with great camera work, great production design, great directing, great dialogue, just very engaging from front to back. At 25, one of the best horror movies of all times, we have The Shining by Stanley Kubrick. I mean, what can I say? Everything said about this film was said already, so, if you haven't seen it, what the hell are you doing? At number 24, we have what is, in my opinion, the funniest movie I've ever seen. Like, I've never laughed and smiled this much watching a movie, and even thinking about it just makes me think, like, damn, like, you are some funny guy. Hot Fuzz by Edgar Wright. Yeah, genuinely one of the most enjoyable comedies I've ever seen. At 23, we have the shocking, bone-crushing, the hyperactive, colorful, edgy Old Boy by Park Chan-wook. And again, super popular Korean film, and it definitely deserves its high praise. I mean, Jesus, the editing, the cinematography, the performances, the story full of twists and turns, the ending is just insane. And then at 22, Call Me a Normie, but this is, in my opinion, the best comic book film of all times, The Dark Knight by Christopher Nolan. I've watched this film many times already when I was a kid, and this is just a movie that just like completely just shatters all these stupid comic book conventions. It's dark, it's mature, but it also feels like very much a heist movie. It feels like one. It isn't one, but it feels like one. It feels so heavily influenced by like Michael Mann. And it's just good, man. The Gotham is just really well designed. The Joker here is basically iconic. And there are just so many memorable scenes here. The whole movie is just one really passionate and powerful project. And at 21, super underrated, and I get why some people may think it's mediocre, but this film is just, wow, it has a lasting impact on me. Because again, this is one of my childhood films. I watched this when I was really young, so I have a very strong impression on it. And even when I rewatch it, I still manage to enjoy every single scene, every single small detail, every single cut, every single shot. Slumdog Millionaire by Danny Boyle. This is just such a crazy, large, grand, ambitious story about a boy from India making it into the world, gaining some money, but also reflects his own life and also reflects the society. It's just so damn good. And at number 20, we have Barry Lyndon by Stanley Kubrick. It's not for everyone, but this is basically the 101 essential guide to late 18th century neoclassical Europe, and particularly Britain and England back then. And it reads like a book, it feels like a book, but also it is an epic. You really get to see the highs and lows of that period of time in that place. And there's just so much going on. The music, the production is just off the roof. It's just amazing. At number 19, we have surprisingly accessible, but also a very powerful, very powerful, very emotional, very traumatizing film, 12 Years a Slave by Steve McQueen. Yeah. At number 18, we have the one and only Kurosawa back at it again with Seven Samurai, Shichinin no Samurai, which is a 3.5 hour long epic that is better than like 90% of war films out there, even though it is not a huge war. But the last 1.5 hour of this film is just non-stop battle, and it's so much about strategy, organization. It's amazing, but also just the characters, the size of the production, the choreography, the whole thing is just magnificent in scale. At number 17, if you want to get into art house, you should start from here, and that is Mulholland Drive by David Lynch. I need to take a sip of water. Truly astonishing. Really, this film is unconventional. It is very weird. It is kind of edgy, very artsy, and it's just a perfect entry for the world of weird artsy movies. And even though it doesn't have a very concrete, solid story, every single scene, as I recall, is great. Every single scene. Like, when I recall Mulholland Drive, I just think of so many amazing scenes. The diner jump scare, the audition scene, the ending, the friggin' There Is No Band, Silencio. That's my favorite scene. I mean, just one great scene after another, after another, after another. The whole movie feels like a nightmarish dreamscape, and it's just amazing. At number 16, The Lighthouse by Robert Eggers. This film is insane, psychological insanity, black and white, period film, dirty, musty, crusty. Just a film that blows me out of the water. Just Robert Eggers has so much ambition and artistic vision going into this, and it is fully realized, and it's just so contained and so damn psychological. It's honestly amazing. Alright, now we have the top 15, and you know what? Even though I'm still going to rank them, the top 15 movies here, they can all just have a 15-way tie. They're all my number one, okay? But at number 15, we have one of my favorite period films ever, 霸王别姬, Farewell My Concubine by Chen Kai-ge. This is a 3-hour-long epic on recent Chinese history from the early 1900s to the 1960s, where we see the crazy political shifts in China, but also simultaneously through the eyes of a very feminine Beijing opera singer who is struggling with expressing his own sexuality. And not only is this one of the most progressive films I've ever seen from China, but also one of the most gorgeous, one of the most daring, one of the most epic, and it dives into topics that are considered taboo nowadays in Chinese film industry. But it is the balls of this movie that really makes it so damn good. And the performances is just breathtaking. Leslie Cheung is truly one of the best actors ever, in my opinion. And he just pulls it off amazingly in this movie. And this movie, the way it's structured, it's like a book, but it's also so intricate. At 14, we have a movie that I just watched last night, Z by Costa Gavras, one of the most blood-boiling, heart-pounding, intricate, intense, anxiety-inducing, and confusing political thrillers of all times. It's a political thriller that ends all political thrillers, and it is amazing. At number 13, it is Whiplash by Damien Chazelle. This movie is forever going to be in my top. Like, I will forever love this movie. I've never seen a single movie in my life that makes my blood boil more than Whiplash. Like, I could feel myself heating up while watching the movie. It just has such a profound biological effect on me. It's honestly amazing. I mean, it's just so intense. Without any gun fights, shootouts, and car chases. I mean, there's a car crash, but that doesn't count. It's probably one of the most intense movies I've ever seen. Just the tension is impalpable, and the message is trying to send. The ending, the climax, is just unbelievably insane. Just wow. Number 12, we have the film that changed me, the film that inspired me to make movies. Well, one of the films, and that is, of course, Inception by Christopher Nolan. I watched this when I was really young, and I could not believe my eyes. I was just blown away, and that is when I know I'm like, okay, I have to make movies now. That is what I'm going to do when I grow up. This is it. This is it. At number 11, we have oh my god, my small brain just cannot comprehend how unbelievably clever this film is. Adaptation by Spike Jonze and Charlie Kaufman. Only Charlie Kaufman can write something this wacky and actually get away with it. An adaptation is a movie about Charlie Kaufman himself trying to adapt a novel which is based upon another thing. And it is so meta, and it is so much about everything, and it's so entertaining, and it's so damn good. Like, I was just in shock. Every single scene just makes me go. Just every single scene. It's just amazing. There's no predicting what happens next. Alright, here's my top 10. Number 10, I'm giving it to There Will Be Blood by Paul Thomas Anderson. Maybe The Master will surpass this once I rewatch The Master, but for now, I think this is the best PTA film. Obviously, this is one of the most immersive period films. Also, a very slow, artsy, well, not slow actually, but very artsy, poignant, gorgeous film. Also, an unsettling film about the birth of capitalism, about an evil, manipulative, power-hungry man, and the rise and fall. And it's magical, it's alluring because of the score, because of the production, because of the way it is directed, the editing, the fade outs, the crossfades. It is just one magical masterpiece. At number 9, it is a film that I recently rewatched, and it is highly regarded as one of the best of all times, obviously, and that is Fire Ninois, or In the Mood for Love by Kar-Wai. This is one of the most gorgeous, if not the most gorgeous films I've ever watched. Every single shot of this film is just filled to the brim with gorgeous colors and textures and shapes and lines and gorgeous composition. It is just, again, my small human brain just cannot comprehend how this is achieved. It's just gorgeous. But also the way it is written and directed, the way it is arranged is just so damn beautiful and daring and bold and choppy. At first glance, it seems like bad directing. But on second glance, it's brilliant. It's unspeakably brilliant. If you have seen older Kar-Wai films and then watch this one, you would realize how his style had reached this point, and you would realize how brilliant this actually is. It's not bad directing. It is intentional. Every single shot, every single cut, every single little plot point, it's all so intricate and full of subtext. Number 8, it is another film that I recently watched. Dirishu no Subete by Iwai Shunji. I hate teen dramas because a lot of them suck. But this one is an exception. This is simultaneously one of the dreamiest, simultaneously one of the most depressing, also, unfortunately, one of the more relatable ones I've ever seen. And it is also so specific to that time period. It doesn't try to pander to the mainstream. It's so specific to late 90s, early 2000s Japan, with the bullying, with the hairstyle, with the shitty camera qualities and the internet back then. It's just so specific to that time period, and it just makes it so nostalgic, so beautiful, so lonely, so gorgeous, and so inspiring, and so painful. It's just a work of art in and of itself. And yeah. Number 7, this will probably be my favorite Hong Kong film of all times. Ever. Fallen Angels, 堕落天使 by Kar-Wai. This is I like this even more than The Mood for Love. And man, I'm already getting tired. I've been talking for so long. Holy crap, this movie is amazing. This is Chungking Express, but the dark, evil twin. So much edgier, so much quirkier, so much more creative. Every single scene, Kar-Wai finds something interesting about it and capitalizes on it. And again, because of the whole on-the-fly, impromptu kind of writing and directing, it feels so natural, it feels so abstract, and it feels so lifelike. It feels like it's really happening. All the characters are really quirky and interesting and layered and intricate. And especially for Michelle Ray's character here, sheesh. Like, there are two types of people in this world. People who love Wong Fei in Chungking Express, and people who love Michelle Ray's in Fallen Angels. And unfortunately, I'm the latter. I'm an edgy boy, I know. But this movie, I rewatched this on the plane, and I just can't believe it. This is just, every single scene is just so damn good. At number 6, we have Yi Yi by Yang Dechang or Edward Yang. This is a 3-hour-long Taiwanese family drama that I think is a movie that changes me. This is one of the movies that changed me. Like, there's me before I watched this film, and then there's me after I watched this film. If you feel overwhelmed by your own life, and you haven't found why you're living, the reason for your life, Yi will kind of answer that in a way. In a way, Yi is the kind of film that makes you understand why we live, and why should we live, and how should we live. It encompasses so much about humanity, but it also feels singular, and that's actually really difficult to write. Like, if you just write a bunch of random scenes, it wouldn't feel that way. Yi Yi is written so well and so subtly that every single scene ultimately points towards one concept. That is, life ain't much, but it is much. At number 5, this film holds a special place in my heart, and I'm sure this film also holds a very special place in many other people's hearts. Giseng Chung, Parasite by Joon-Ho. I watched this film before this film is even premiered outside of East Asia, and I watched it in the middle of the night, or actually late at night, on my 18-year-old birthday in some small art house theater cinema. And the experience of watching this film, man, the experience, this feeling, and the shock, and just me sitting there after the movie had ended when the end credits roll, this is incomparable. I will never have this feeling again in my life. This feeling, like, just the movie, just how shocked and engaged I am from scene one, when that story is this engaging, when the characters are this good, when the editing, the music, the cinematography is this good, when there's so many shocking twists and turns, and when the movie has so much to say. It's so dense, yet it doesn't feel rushed. The pacing is perfect. There's no hesitation. It's not too slow, not too fast. It is just perfect. The tension, the rising tension, the suspense, everything about this film, every single thing about this film, and me watching it in the cinema for the first time, just the feeling, and then me leaving the cinema and walking back to the MTR station, this feeling is irreplaceable. This is just Joon-Ho, man. I love cinema. Number 4, we have a film that I'm not even sure if it's supposed to be number 4 or not, but it also is number 4. The film, the psychological thriller that predates all psychological thrillers, the mother of all psychological thrillers, Persona by Ingmar Bergman. This film is the cinematic equivalent of a white canvas, of a blank canvas. You stare at it, and you think it's nothing, but the more you look, the more you realize that your mind is cracking and your brain is melting, and then you suddenly develop all these insane thoughts. This movie is pure insanity. It starts off, the opening sequence is, again, you could just throw a bunch of random scenes, random shots together and call it crazy, but there's something so specific about Bergman's style that makes it so much more special and so much more difficult to grasp. And then the ending, the last half of this film is just psychological damage. And it isn't about one thing. This film isn't about a specific thing. It is literally a blank canvas as well. Like, it's just, it could be about anything. You could just fill in the blanks. You don't know. It is the movie that predates all psychological thrillers. And I just can't imagine this movie having color. I'm so glad it's black and white. In fact, I can't even imagine this movie being mostly black and taking place at night. It has to be morning. It has to be black and white. It has to be that aspect ratio, because otherwise the movie would be ruined. And it's just one really interesting experience. All right, at number 3, we have what is, in my opinion, even better than Parasite. My favorite Bong Joon-ho movie, and in my opinion, might be the most entertaining movie of all times. Sarinai Chuo, Memories of Murder by Bong Joon-ho. This is basically Parasite, but even darker, and I love it. Again, just like Parasite, the pacing is perfect, the characters are amazing, they're all lovable, likable, the story is so compelling. The mystery, the twists and turns, and the ending is bone-chilling. Probably my favorite ending shot of any film ever. This is just, wow. Just, everything. Every technical aspect, the story, the writing, every single scene, the dialogue. I mean, from like number 20 onwards, every single movie also falls into this description of like, every single scene is great. Every single shot is great. Like, not a single second is wasted. I love every single line. Every single frame is just gorgeous. And Memories of Murder is just a prime example of that. At number 2, we have the movie that has been getting a lot of shit. That is Taxi Driver by Martin Scorsese, written by Paul Schrader. This is, there are 2 kinds of people who love this movie. One kind of people are the people who can relate to the main character of Travis Barker, because society has let them down. We live in a society, and we can only resort to violence, incels. But the second kind of people who love this movie legitimately love it for its writing, the cinematography, the production, and just damn good character study. And I am more of the latter. But don't get me wrong, partially I think what makes this movie so great is because it is one of those rare movies that truly show how a man snaps. There's a movie that's kind of similar to this, and that is Joker. The recent Joker. But Joker is nowhere near as effective as Taxi Driver. Nowhere near. Joker has violence, it has crazy gunfights and protests. Taxi Driver does not. But it's so much more effective because it is so much more subtle in its ways. And it is just Robert De Niro, one of the greatest actors of all times. All right, without further ado, my film of all times, Ikiru, Kurosawa Akira. A movie from 1952. This is one of the few Kurosawa films that doesn't star Mifune Toshiro. And I mean, everything's great about this movie. The pacing, the story, the character, the technical aspects, the lighting, and everything. Everything's great. But the real reason why I have to put it at number 1, and I can't put it anywhere else, is because this movie is the ultimate movie that answers the ultimate question of life, and that is, what is the meaning of life? And it's like Yi Yi, but it's even more compelling and enlightening in that it explains why we live. What's the point of living? And I'm not going to spoil it, but this is genuinely one of the most heartfelt, one of the most powerful, and one of the most enlightening stories of all times, in my opinion, if not the most. And again, this is the kind of movie that changes you. You become a different person after watching this film. And it's just ever so powerful, ever so gorgeous, and ever so inspiring as well. So, yeah, Ikiru. Yeah, that is also my Chinese teacher's favorite Kurosawa film. So shout out to my Chinese teacher. So, what are your favorite films of all times? Comments below, let me know. And thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want more. I have wacky hair. I will have a haircut soon, so don't worry, guys, don't worry.